When we were getting ready for this, Gary and his team mentioned that this is where we have to start. This is one of the most important preventative measures that you can take to stop the bad actors. Multi-factor authentication, you guys might have also heard it be called two-factor authentication. This is when you're logging into your account and then you get that annoying text message that says, please put the code in so I can let you access your account. It really does help. I know it's an extra step, but if someone has your password, then they're going to have to go through another brick wall to gain access to your critical information. So when it's possible, please, please, please always use multi-factor authentication. It can really save the day. Can't stress that enough.
In portfolio theory, we always mention to people that there's one issue. Of course, it's diversification. Diversification that's bespoke for the family and their situation for income and whatnot. So there's one issue that really drives performance. It's actually about 92% of the efficiency. And this is probably 92% of your efficiency securing your data, the multi-factor stuff.
Absolutely. All righty, two of the major threats that we're going to be talking about today is phishing and also malware and equipment. So phishing is, I'm just going to read the definition to you right here so I don't mess it up when Gary's here. A type of cybersecurity attack during which malicious actors send messages pretending to be a trusted person or an entity. So we've all gotten the phone calls that say, hi, this is your credit card company. Please send us your social security number and your password and every other private information that you have because we want to make sure that you're okay. That's a phishing attempt. It's extremely unlikely that your credit card company is ever going to do that. And if they are trying to do that, then we should verify it. But it is someone trying to pretend to be a person that maybe maybe you don't, just to gain access to your private information. And we have to be extremely vigilant to avoid that. And then malware and equipment, Andy's going to hit on that later in the presentation, but this refers to any intrusive software developed by cybercriminals to steal data and damage or destroy computers and computer systems. So those scary links that we are always telling you to do not click in your emails? Usually when you do click it, the malware is on the other side of that. And as soon as you click that link, the malware, it just infests your devices, and then it can be too late. So be aware of the links that are in your emails and the malware that is behind it. So when we're talking about phishing, we're not talking about this type of phishing. This is actually one of our clients, Len, and we asked him for a picture. We thought it was going to be like a small brook trout or striper, a bass out in the Piscataqua River, but instead he sent us this tuna, which I guess speaks to the the complexity of what we're dealing with here. But fishing and phishing are actually more similar than we think. So when Len is out fishing, he's using a lure, right? He's using a fishing lure that pretends and looks like a fish, but it really isn't. And it's trying to hook on to another fish, a real fish. The bad actors out there are trying to do the same thing to you. They are using a fake device or a fake person or a fake entity to try to hook you in. And once you're hooked, you could be in some serious trouble. So avoid the hooks and watch out for the fake lures. All right, so how to spot phishing attempts. Number one, unfamiliar or generic greetings. If you don't know the person, that's an immediate sign that we have to step back and think about what's going on. Number two, email/call demands urgent action. We can't stress this point enough. We see this a lot in the attacks that we come across. It's always someone who is trying to get something done quickly. We had an instance where one of our clients was calling for some money. And in the email, it wasn't a call, I guess. It was an email. In the email, she said, I'm about to jump on the plane and I can't complete a verbal confirmation with you. Can you please just send the money? About an hour later, we had our compliance team calling us. I'm sure Gary and the IT guys were also, searching this, because that's a big red flag. If someone says, please get this done, I can't complete your verbal verification, I can't confirm who I am, just send the money, we have to stop. We have to think that there's a bad actor at play here. So if someone is pressuring you to get something done quickly, don't fall for it. Think twice. Next up is the inconsistencies with email addresses and domains. Anytime I have a link in an email, one of the first things I do, even if it's from even if it's from Andy, if he sends me, he might send me a sketchy link, I don't know. So even if it's Andy, I go right to the email domain and I triple check that that email domain is accurate, or what I think is accurate. So @gmail.com would be an email domain. @gnail with an N.com could be a perpetrator. Could be someone who is making it look like Gmail, but it's not. It's malware attached to that link. It is the perfect storm. So always look at the email domains to triple check who's sending you this information. And then number 4, email contains spelling mistakes or bad grammar. We're always taught that a lot of these bad actors, not all of them, but a lot of them don't speak English as their primary language. So if there is grammar or spelling errors, good chance that the rest of this email could be tainted with with something bad. Number 5 is suspicious attachments. Kind of goes along with number 6, email requests for sensitive data. Usually, there's an attachment there that says, please put in your sensitive information. Again, anytime someone is attaching something that says, please click here and do it in a hurry, please send your social security number, please send your credit card number, we have to verify it in order for little Jimmy to get into college or whatever it might be. My grandfather had someone call him and said that I was in a car accident, and that in order for the hospital to be able to complete the surgery to save my life, that he would have to give him his credit card information. So there's all types of ways that these guys are gonna fish to try to get that hook into your mouth, and once it's in there, it is very tough to get it out. So please think about these 6 steps to avoid the phishing attempts. And then, this one, we say this in the office: think before you click. I try to tell Andy as much as I can. Recognize the risks. Keep software up to date. Gary is always hounding us to have enough space on our devices, our computers, our iPhones, in order to complete the update. The updates make sure that we can have the most up-to-date cybersecurity protocols. If you don't have space on your devices and you can't complete the update, you could be at risk. You could be at risk of not having the best cybersecurity protocols up in the area.
I don't have any data on this, but just from personal experience, this is a big deal for us at Essential Planning, because we're getting calls from you guys, maybe not every week. It feels like every week though, saying that, something's happened. And don't forget the phone is a device. You were just saying earlier, it feels more secure. It feels different, but the phone is a device. So if you're not getting your updates every night or every now and then, depending on the provider, then the latest and greatest protection for your device isn't available to you. So be sure that you've got the room and staying on top of that.
Yep, absolutely. Store sensitive information in a secure location. Don't leave your private information out and about. Even in your own home, in the office, we're always telling our guys to put everything in the desk at the end of the day, or if they're even temporarily leaving their desk. It could be, mailman comes by and he's not the mailman. FedEx comes by and it's not FedEx, it's actually a bad actor. And all he needs is a quick glance at a piece of paper with confidential information that's on your desk or your living room table, and he can go off that and take a whole lot more. So store sensitive information in a safe place. And then back up important data to an external hard drive. I know some of us are fearful of the cloud, and we also know that devices can fail, right? That's one of the bad things about technology, is that it doesn't always last forever. These expensive devices, so it's always good to back it up, back up the data, the photos, the videos that you have. And we like external hard drives, physical object that you can keep in a safe place. No one can get on that unless they have it in their hands. And it's not like the cloud, where a hacker could get in there and take everything that's in there. So external hard drives are a great way to store some of your personal and private information and keep it safe. Keep it somewhere where a hurricane won't get it either. Equipment and data protection. Keep going with the equipment. Some tips and tricks: back up your data, install malware protection, protect your device when unattended. These are things that I've hit on a little bit. Make sure your Wi-Fi is secure. Natalie in the back, some of you probably have talked to Natalie on the phone or corresponded via email. She's super vigilant, right? And today, when she was logging on to her laptop and setting up this PowerPoint, she asked Gary if she could use this hotel's Wi-Fi. Gary said it was all right as long as she's using her work laptop with all the security details on it. But when we're in an airport, when we're in a coffee shop, we should really think twice about all those Wi-Fi options that we have. They're not all secure. If we have some doubt, we'll try to use a hotspot on our cell phone, because we know we know that's secure. We know as long as the phone is with us, then we can count on that Wi-Fi connection to be okay.
So you guys, this is where we were going to get all the interaction. We don't have a lot of questions. I just want to really punctuate that one. So you guys know that. I think you say some of them are secure, some of them aren't. Just assume that none of them are secure, right? Like the Wi-Fi in here in Natalie this morning, or Starbucks, or when you're traveling, the Hampton Inn, and resist that temptation to click and take the easy route.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
The other thing, just jumping in, Hunter, on the. I have kind of a funny story on this one, because usually they're not funny stories. But our compliance people, when we get audited on a regular and consistent basis by a variety of regulatory agencies, you probably have heard me whine about it a little bit before. So one in particular has more of a collegial relationship. And I thought it was really interesting. We were just working on this this week. Their last site visit, they noticed that we were using somebody else's copy machine in a borrowed office. Most of you know Duran, insurance. We were up there, and they said, copy isn't just it's not like the mimeograph when I was in high school. That data's out there now. Anything that you're copying on that machine it is no longer under your control, under their control, and their trusted colleagues. But still, I thought that was a great point. And it's not that we don't trust you guys, but some of you remember we were handing documents to Save a Tree out on thumb drives, so that you could have your document and securely store it. Maybe a copy of an application that you filled out with Fidelity or something. And it's always a good business practice to have copies of your original documents. So we started handing those out on thumb drives, and our compliance people pointed out that we hadn't been encrypting them. And what are they doing with what's your client doing with the thumb drive? Leaving it on their dashboard when they run into donkeys or or what? So they asked us to encrypt them, and then we were worried that you guys wouldn't be able to unencrypt that. So we stopped. You won't see many we stopped with the thumb drive process entirely. So we're human too, and we're getting great coaching from our consultants on trying to help you guys lock this down.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All righty. Limit access to only those who need it, and don't share data for longer than needed. We definitely don't want your passwords and PINs. Please don't send them to us. I know sometimes, some of the websites that you have to log on to can be tricky, and you just want to have us do it, but we cannot do that. And you don't want to do the same for your cousin, your uncle, your nephews, your grandchildren. If you can, just try to take the time to have them help you log in. Share your password with only those who absolutely need it, but try to avoid it at all costs. And if you do have to share it, it can always be a good cyber hygiene method to change it afterwards, and keep them up to date. Dispose of old records and IT equipment. Any old phone, computer that we have goes directly to Gary and our IT team. We can't just throw it out because someone could be pawing through that trash. They could grab it, plug it in, and take everything that's on there. We have to be super vigilant about how we take care of our devices once they reach the graveyard. And Best Buy, I know, offers a service. Staples offers a service. Usually, they don't charge anything unless you have a whole lot.
We do it.
We do it.
About every 3 years, you guys remember we have a little spring cleaning document shredding party. But those shredders take phones. Last time we lost this fella, great client, wonderful human being, but he was at the shredding party, and he came up and he was just a little off. And I said, Otho, what's going on? And he was watching them shred the phones. And he said, I just spent all last night taking all the paper clips out of my shred pile. So you don't need to do that next time.
Shred it.
We can handle it.
Shred it all. Number 8, disable Bluetooth when not in use. Bad actors can tap onto your Bluetooth if you have it not connected to anything but turned on. So always a good idea to leave it off until you're connected to your speaker or whatnot. All right, password protection. So we already talked about multi-factor authentication, but before that is password hygiene. This is the first line of defense, and there are 3 main takeaways and tricks that we want you guys to know about. And most of you probably already follow these. But keep the passwords long. Minimum of 8 characters. A lot of the accounts that you open and the companies out there will actually have a lot of these requirements already built in. When you're entering a new password, it will turn red and say, no, not long enough or not unique enough. But make sure they're long. What the research says is that if they're anywhere from 12 to 14 characters, that will significantly increase your chances of not getting hacked. So make them long. Number 2, keep them random. Don't use your full name. Don't use your pet's name. Nothing like that. We have to have these bad actors guessing. So if it was that FedEx guy who dropped off your package and then he saw some pictures or maybe some mail with some names on there, those are going to be probably some of the first things that they're going to try. Birthday, it's too easy. We have to have them super complex. And then probably the hardest thing is to keep them unique. We can't use the same password over and over and over again. I think a lot of us fall for this. We come up with this super complex password, it's 14 characters, no one's gonna guess it, and then we use it again and again and again. But if a hacker figures it out somehow, some way, and you have all of your accounts with that same password, then you just put everything at risk, and we can't have that. So please make them unique, come up with new passwords, or better yet, use a password manager. We have these in the office, and they're really great. So a password manager is going to auto-generate a unique password that's long for every account that you have. They're really quite complex. It looks like someone dragged their hand across the keyboard. It's just, it's really wild how they have all the symbols, all the numbers in there somehow, some way, and you don't have to remember it. You just have to remember how to get into your account, which can be very tricky. Once you're in there, you're all set up. It will automatically generate the password every time you need it. You just click the button and it will pop right in to whatever login you're trying to get into. And
just show of hands, how many people are using a tool like that? So, maybe 10%, not even. And I suspect that the people that aren't using the tool aren't as detailed as Hunter's suggesting on the first 3 items. I mean, it's almost impossible, right? So if you've got a 18-character password and it's different for every institution, then probably what you're doing is keeping it in your wallet or using your mother's maiden name, or something that can easily get grabbed. I don't know how you can manage it without a tool like that. And I use LastPass personally. That's not an endorsement or anything. I just like the way that it displays. I like the look of it, and I don't know how you could. I don't know how I could keep track of the stuff without that tool.
question.
That can't get
It can.
It can, and they have. It's still better than the alternative.
What they do is, if they were hacked, what they do is click a button and then reset all the passwords all at once, and then they continue doing that until they're locked down.
And we're going to get into this in just a second. What do you do when you are hacked? It's extremely convenient for that. For changing and updating them. If you're not using a tool like that, I don't want to ask for a show of hands on this because it can be embarrassing, but you're probably not changing them on a regular and consistent basis either, and you're not, particularly well equipped if you have a breach.
suggesting that you get a different password for every account you have?
Yes, it is.
It is. Yeah. So a password manager will do all that work for you.
Yeah.
It will.
Even if you change it often, still should have a different password?
We think so. Yes. I think Gary, right behind you, would agree. would agree.
Yeah.
We're forced to change our password. Gary will make us, and the team has a password manager to really help us maintain those 3 standards. The biggest one being the uniqueness.
So what Nancy, my wife, his mother do, we have one master password, and it isn't written anywhere. And every now and then, we kind of hold hands. She's leaving. She just left today to drive with our daughter to her new home. And before she left, I'm like, "Honey, what's the password again?" So that we could keep it straight. And we do change it from time to time. That's the master, and then everything else is different. Sorry, go ahead.
Does it work on mobile devices?
Yeah.
Have to have password manager on each device.
Yeah. So the question for the online audience was, can you use the password manager on the phone? Or an iPad or any device? So yes, I would say almost all the password managers have apps that you can use and download on your phone and iPad. And then, anytime you're on there, it will pick up anytime you're trying to plug in your password, and it will say, okay, this is for this account. And then it will try to prompt the password right in there. Yeah.
So, you know, and I use, like I said, LastPass, so it goes across all, you know, the desktop, the laptop, and the phone. Yeah.
Password managers, great. I mean, we have some examples up here, and yeah, we can't speak more highly of them. They really do help.
And I use the, you know, one of the reasons people like working with us is we're Yankees and we're eternally cheap. And I use the free one. You know, I haven't been upsold to, you know, one of the subscriptions yet. I'm still getting everything that I need out of the, you know, the entry level one.
Question.
And if you get it online, how do you know that's working?
Yeah.
Good question. So the question was, how do you get access to a password manager? And if you're on one of their websites, how do you know that is legit? We can send you a link that we know is secure and we know is legitimate. You know, that's one way. But you know, in the end, you always have to be second guessing these things. So it's a great question. I hope you're asking yourself those types of questions all day, because the attacks seem to be nonstop.
It's an issue, Nancy, and like we direct people to a tool for simple legal work called LegalZoom. And we literally we send them a tutorial afterwards and, you know, say, yep, it's okay to give up your, you know, these people are legit. It's okay to give up your, you know, your information. And we're going to talk a little bit about Social Security in a minute. I mean, that's the federal government, right? I don't know. I mean, you're going to go into the federal government site, you know, to key in your information and open an account. You have to just take a breath and be patient. Like he said, check those URLs.
Yep. All righty, malware.
Malware's me. Okay. Yep. I literally, this isn't my Surface, you know, laptop, but on mine I have in tape. It's a little Post-it note that I have covered over with tape, and it says literally on my machine: stop, breathe, think, stay cool. Because I'm going so fast and hard, that's when you tend to make a mistake. If you make a mistake, here's how you find out. You know, if you have something in your equipment, these are the tells. So all of a sudden you get slower performance. You know, things are just fantastically slower than they were. You know, when you're using the normal software that you would use every day. Pop-ups. You know, you suddenly get pop-ups for sports betting sites or something like that you shouldn't be getting. And of course, you don't hit those, but if you're getting an unusual number of pop-ups, or really any pop-ups, it's likely that you've been infected. The web browser is taking you to an unintended site, so you hit LastPass and it takes you to FastPass or something like that. You know, something's going on in your equipment. And then the other thing is problems shutting it down and getting the updates. So if your equipment just isn't shutting down when you're shutting it down, or if the updates are rejecting, that's malware in your equipment. Most of the time, that's processing it or refusing to process it. So never click on a link, you know, that pops up without taking your time. And if you have to, you go the long way around the barn, Nancy, and call them. And then beware of emails, like Hunter was saying before, that are requesting any kind of information. Even ones that are coming from Essential Planning. Take a careful look at those. And the funny thing is, not funny, funny, strange funny, but you know, today we'll probably get, I don't know, 50 or 75 emails. I guarantee you 10 of them, not you guys because you're here paying attention, but our clientele will be sending, you know, confidential information, including this morning I had a woman out in Montana send me her tax return, a picture of her tax return. So she gets a nice little note back, hey, next time, you know, use our portal, you know, so that you can upload that. But it's easy when you're moving too quickly to let that stuff get by you. But this is how you know that you've been infected. Has anybody had experience with that and seen their machines start to act funny? Yeah. Yeah. So then it's time to take it to Best Buy or take it to Gary and Andy or take it to somebody to have it looked at, right? Doesn't mean you've been hacked yet, right? It just means they're inside your machine. Next up, we have zombie accounts. One of the things I love about this business is, I learn all the time from our clients and I learn getting prepared. It's constant education, right? Sometimes it's the school of hard knocks, but it's still constant education. So I have a little list of 5 or 7 things that I need to do, cobbler's children, right, to clean up my own act. And one of them is definitely these zombie accounts. And I intentionally didn't mention this before, Dave, when you were asking the question. Everyone has a password. My LastPass account now has 141 passwords. It's crazy. 141 that you're expected to manage. One of the things I need to do is go in and get rid of the ones that I'm not using any longer. If I switched companies or got rid of cable or unplugged, or you do not want to have that data out there. It just radically increases your exposure. So like in mountaineering, if you're skiing Tuckerman Ravine, they teach you if you're going to go underneath ice or area where rocks might let go, keep your exposure to that to a minimum. Don't climb underneath it for an hour. Just traverse over and ski down it. And it's the same thing here. We're just trying to keep the data down to a minimum. And I would encourage you to do what I'm going to do. Go back through those zombie accounts, go back through your passwords and pins and see if you really need them any longer and get rid of them. And I suspect I'm going to find some money in there because these subscriptions are driving me crazy. I bet there's a couple in there, for $9.99 or whatever that are getting me that I'll be able to clean up at the same time. There are tools. I'm not going to read them to you. You've got them in your kits. And if the print's too fine, just call us. But there are tools that can help you go through your equipment and identify the accounts. So we've got the tools in here for, like an iPhone or an Android, a regular PC or, Apple's software, so that you can take a look at everybody that you've got a subscription to in one nice shot and say, or, yeah, I'm using these guys all the time. That's a project we'd love to see you take on. And then Social Security, I knock the federal government. I mean, who blames me for having libertarian principles when it comes to the government? When they let go 270 million Social Security numbers, or I think it was 270 million Social Security numbers. What the protocol is to go online to see if they let yours go. I don't think you have to do that. Just assume that they did. Assume that it's out there. And if it wasn't Social Security, it was probably your gym, next door, or your physical therapist, or it's better to defend the perimeter, assuming the worst, than it is just blindly going through and sticking your head in the sand and hoping that it goes away and that you're one of the lucky ones. This is interesting because 40 years ago, this was a technique that we used to drum up business. I was out hustling, and running hard and looking for people to invest $2,000 in an IRA. And one of the tools that we used to, kind of generate interest is we would teach people how to, of course, they didn't go online, but how to access their Social Security report. Back then, you had to fill out a form and write. Each one of us has an account, like a legit account at Social Security, right, with deposits. And it's always surprising to our clients to see how important that is in the financial plan. Because if you retire at normal retirement age and you live to life, a normal life expectancy, 88 or 90, you suck out $1 million out of Social Security, which is why our country is on the verge of bankruptcy. So no politics here, except this one comment. It's so disappointing to me that they just reported $1.8 trillion in debt this fiscal year. And we are not having an adult conversation about it. This is the time of year, the time of season every 4 years where we're supposed to have an adult conversation about it. I just wish that they would talk more about the debt. It's like we're all in this room living our lives with a giant piano over our head, like a cartoon. And anyway, Social Security is, a big part of it. It's not going bankrupt. It's going to be there, and you should take a look at your account. That's the message. Sure enough, the guy that hired me and brought me into the business did this. His name was NATO, and he had another person with the same name, same middle initial, already taken Social Security in California out of his account. And it took him, a lifetime to get it fixed, but he got it fixed. So if you want to know if you were hacked, take a look at your Social Security account. It's good information to see in there and to make sure that everything's in good order. Especially if you're not taking Social Security yet. It's fun. You can see how much you're going to get when you draw it, and then we can thumb wrestle about whether you should delay it or not, which is what happens in our office every day. In the instructions on jumping on Social Security and getting that data are in there if you haven't done it already. Handling other breaches, we kind of put this in there selfishly because we do get calls often. I would say that this one's weekly. These guys could tell you in the back. But somebody says, I just got a letter in the mail. The credit union gave up, my data, and they're offering these different solutions. The solutions aren't great. The horse is out of the barn. The train has left the station. The solution is to get a free year, generally, of some kind of insurance that protects you against this. I worry about that. I'm not sure how effective that is. What I worry about is that you forget that you got the freebie for the first year and that it automatically renews and it becomes a zombie account and they get it into your credit card. I also worry about the insurance in general, which we'll talk about in just a minute. So what do you do when that happens? What you do is come to meetings like this and go back through your notes and have good hygiene. The horse is out of the barn. So we don't know if anybody's into your accounts. We just know that your data's out there. Like I said a couple minutes ago, just assume that your data's out there. Your data's out there. I could probably go downtown in Portsmouth and buy your Social Security number in 10 minutes. Never mind the dark web. And, we get a lot of people saying that they were told that their Social Security number was out on the dark web. I'll bet it is. I'll bet it's on the street corner. So protect yourself. Use good hygiene. I love that word. And go back through your notes and actually do this stuff that we're talking about here today and continue to do it. One great message that I got from Hunter when we were working in the office on security, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday. The portals that we use to share information was the cybersecurity on those things is intense, and it's so intense that the client couldn't get into the the information, and it annoyed people because they get kicked out regularly. That's one message. Don't let it annoy you. They're just trying to help, right? So what I learned from Hunter, though, is just very simply, you think this is going to get better, or do you think it's going to get worse? So do you think this is going to get better, or do you think it's going to get worse? These guys are good. They're smart, and they're freaking good. And if they were trying to cure cancer or something, we'd already have the cure. I just wish we could take all that energy that's being used for nefarious purposes and bottle it up for good. But you just have to get used to this stuff and your data being out there. Probably other than, what Gary pointed out, the multi-factor authentication, our favorite technique is dealing with the credit agencies, locking them down, freezing them. You can freeze or lock. There are two different levels of complexity and kind of severity there. The universe of access versus single access. We would advise you, 100% to lock these things down and to take this report with you today. We'll hand them out when you leave, and get it done. Get it done this weekend, right? And you can thaw them. Which means you can go in and release it. We've had some tough times with this. We had a client up in Sandwich. This will sound familiar to some of you. He went to Home Depot to buy a grill. Guy said, if you get a credit card, we'll knock $400 off the grill or something like that. $400. he spent, the poor fellow spent about 9 hours, trying to unfreeze his credit and, get. My advice to Josh was it was worth it, right? Because you spend a lifetime trying to unhack yourself, and if that data gets out there. So a little bit of a pain in the neck, but really our clients are at the level where they're not really using their credit. And the younger people have some kind of an obsession about their credit scores. It's like Brad, you guys too probably. My credit, I don't want it to impact my credit. I don't know. Banks are idiots. They'll lend anybody money. They almost bankrupt us all the time. I don't worry too much about the credit score. I worry about people getting in there and seeing everything that you have. Lock it down. So that's another thing, cobbler's children, that the Lords are going to do because of this meeting here today. Haven't done it.
If you don't choose to freeze your credit, then just like Social Security, you should be monitoring your credit report and your credit history, because you can see if someone applies for a credit card and it wasn't you, it's going to show up on that report. So creating a system to monitor that regularly, along with Social Security, would be an alternative.
We get a lot of questions on this. It's interesting. We do have our recommendation on it. Our recommendation on this kind of insurance to protect your identity is the same as any other insurance. We want to keep it on the skinny. We really don't want to go overboard with it. But if it's keeping you up at night and it makes you feel better and it gives you a little bit of peace of mind, go ahead and spend the money and buy the ID insurance. I will tell you, I don't own it. Maybe I should. I don't. The reason I don't is I've never seen anybody make a claim on it. And I've seen lots of people with it that got hacked and they didn't pay. And it bothers me. Just a personal, a personal opinion. The other thing I'd like to mention about that is that I'm going to give you an example. We have a client who was hacked. It was awful. It was embarrassing. That's one thing. Don't be embarrassed, when this happens, because it happens. But they didn't pay. And I asked him to check his homeowner's insurance, and son of a gun, he had a rider on his homeowner's insurance that he was already paying for that did pay. So sort of a case by case. This is a squishy or subjective decision. Like I say, if you've been hacked and you hated it and you're worried about it, sometimes it's better to just pay the premium. If you're gonna sleep better at night. But check your homeowners too, because it likely has some coverage on there. Okay, plenty of data in there on how it works and and what you're spending. Watch out for those upsells though, Laura. Right? All of a sudden you start at $9.99 and then all of a sudden you're at $39.99. It might be a zombie account. What to do if you've been hacked? Go back through your notes. What we did today. Confirm what happened. Make sure your credit freeze is on or locked. Change every password. Extremely convenient if you're using a tool, right? And then two-factor, no longer two-factor, but multi-factor authentication. Be sure that that's up and running, and then let us know. We need to know if somebody's in your checkbook or a mortgage in your house, or we need to know. And then we let the people that we're doing business with know, and they are wonderful, by the way. What our two major vendors are Fidelity and Schwab. They all buying each other, so they're like the King Kongs in our space right now. They've got about 88% of the marketplace in the independent channel. What Fidelity does is they interview us about your hack, what you gave up. And then they put like different levels of security on your accounts. I don't know what they're called, but it's like DEFCON 1, DEFCON 2. And then, the third one is nobody's touching that account. Nobody. We're not, you're not, which is a little bit sketchy because you can't get at your money. So for people who are really being breached and violated, that's what happens. Interestingly, what Schwab does is they feel that their protocols are in place and they just own it. They don't change a thing. And we've had them write checks out, several times. So let us know, and then we'll let you know what action has been taken. Usually, that's we got it. We're gonna do what's necessary, move on to your credit cards, please. Move on to calling your bank. Move on to change, the other items on the list. The last thing is the same thing as the first thing. And we're intentionally ending where we started. Thank you, Gary, because this wasn't in the deck when we started. So it's the multi-factor authentication. That's what's gonna save your butts. So, kind of wrapping it up, that's the most effective thing that you can do. But the other comments that I wanted to make about this that I thought could be of some use is be on the lookout for us, sending you stuff, and take a look at it from time to time. What we do as a team in the office is we have a vendor that provides us with a course every month. It might take 5 or 15 minutes. It has a test at the end, but it just keeps your mind thinking when you're running too hard and too busy. And reminds you of these basic principles that we talked about today. So we're going to do some of that. Be on the lookout for it, or kind of set one up on your own. When Hunter was a young lad in ski racing, I used to have a little funny trick that I did to try to get him to change his mindset. I go up on his forehead and I pretend I had a switch. Now, I flick the switch.
He still does that. He still does that.
You're going to change your... So let's all... I do congratulate you for taking the time today, but let's all change our attitude about this. I know it's a pain in the neck. I'm forever running downstairs to get my phone or upstairs to get, because I'm doing the but I'm losing weight and I'm getting in shape. But seriously, the give and take, I really don't want to give this thing up. It's pretty handy, right? And we're living at a time in the world, going through the universe here at the best time in 19 billion years anybody ever could. And a lot of it does have to do with the microchip and the data and the internet. And you might as well just get over it and embrace it because it's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse. It's interesting watching Hunter do his thing, or the guys and gals in the office. One thing I try to think about with my my attitude and my whole vibe on it is, I remember what it was like when we didn't have to do this. They don't. This is just normal. This is just normal for them. So I just have to kind of, change the mindset and, take advantage of the opportunity. I mentioned this before we started formally. What we want to do is we want to scare the crap out of you guys, but we don't want to freeze you up. We want to be on the edge of that. We have a consultant that helps us with the financial software that we use. And he said this to us back during COVID, and I think it's absolutely true. Donna, you and I were talking about the worry gene. We have the worry gene. Many people in this room have the worry gene. Don't worry about Trump and Biden and Kamala. Don't worry about stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. They go up, they go down. Worry about this, because this is what could bankrupt you. This is the biggest risk. So this fellow was pointing out to Hunter and I, we're trying to defend the perimeter for you guys at Essential Planning. We're doing this, we're doing that, and he said, work on the cyber. That's the elephant, right? Work on the cybersecurity, and we feel very thankful, Gary, that you're so patient with us in helping people to do that. So my last comment is something that I'll never forget. It was at a meeting like this on the same subject a few years ago. A client of ours was, conducting the class, and he said at the end, just remember, there are two types of people out there: the people who have been hacked and... No, it's not the people that will be. I tricked you. So the people who have been hacked and the people who have been hacked that just don't know it yet. Ugh. That's the mindset. Thanks so much for coming. Thanks for beaming in. We'll be around for your questions.